Welcome to this Urbanna Town Council work session, this September 25, 2025. Let's have a call to order. Marjorie Austin.
Here.
Larry Tuning.
Here.
Alana Courtney.
Here.
Bill Goldsmith is here. Mary Hanson.
Here.
Beth Justice.
Here.
Robbie Wilson.
Here.
Having a quorum, let's stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Do we have a motion to accept the agenda as presented?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? All right. Legislative update. Mr. Hodges, if you would be so
That
kind.
me?
Yes.
That's you. I
That's
think,
quick. You think? Well, thank you so much,
unless you know something we don't.
Mayor. I don't know, that's scary. But thank you all, and I greatly appreciate the opportunity to be here. I always like to thank, our town councils and our boards of supervisors for the hard work that you do each and every day. Because this is where the rubber, meets the road. You make the tough decisions, and I truly believe that what you do each and every day is much harder than the work we do in Richmond, because it's local and they're tough decisions, and can't appreciate y'all enough. And especially, when I chaired counties, cities, and towns, really do appreciate all you do. So always like to start out with that. And how long do I have, Mayor?
As long as you want it, I'll cut you off.
Well, I spoke the other night in King William, and they said that. Then afterwards, they said I would be very good at the filibuster. So, and that's 100% true. But
Okay, take it
I know
back
I know I was
When you
here.
see people start doing this, we've
Well,
enough.
I can entertain you. So, but I think I was here earlier in the year. So if I'm repetitive, just let me know. And of course, every session is different. We had the session, last year, and we started off. We thought we were going to start off, and if you remember, we had the fiasco with the water in Richmond, so we were delayed. And of course, we tried to push to get some things done and move faster, but didn't quite work out like we wanted to. But in the end, I think we got a lot accomplished. And considering, the circumstances, but when you look at, we had roughly 3,500 bills and resolutions to deal with that were introduced in the General Assembly. So it's a lot of work. It's quick. It's very fast. It's fast paced, which I like, which I really do enjoy. So I'm looking forward to the upcoming session. Of course, we had to deal with our budget, which is what we deal with every year. Even though it wasn't a budget year, we dealt with the amended budget, because we have to look at, the previous year's expenditures and revenues and forecast and move those forward. So the upcoming session actually will be dealing with the budget for a 2-year cycle. Personally, I believe that we don't look at things the way we should. And being on appropriations, and this is something I'm trying to push, when we look at how we spend our money, that's all they look at. They don't look at the potential cost savings for particular programs.
Mhm.
So, I've introduced things and say, well, it's going to cost us this within the next 2 years, but they don't look at the savings in the long run. So I'm trying to find a solution for that. And that's just good governance. It's the way we look at our pocketbooks. It's the way we run our households. It's the way we do things. And I think that is very important moving forward. Of course, this is the most important thing. We run roughly about $180 billion. And when you look at the budget, it's about that thick. So most of that actually comes from what we call non-general revenue funds that's passed through. And then we have our general funds, which makes up the difference, which is, comes from the state. And that's where we really make our decisions. No budget's perfect. I don't agree with 100% of what was in the budget, but at the end of the day, this one was really something I could vote for because, you know, it actually put money in people's pockets at the end of the day. We projected a revenue surplus, and which we had. So we ended up giving back, I believe, $1.1 billion to taxpayers initially, but we also changed the standardized deduction, which is very important. Changing the standardized deduction on a tax form saves middle-class families across the Commonwealth a tremendous amount of money. So doubling that and increasing that makes a huge difference. So even though you don't see the dollars right now in your pocketbook, everybody wants to focus on the $200 rebate they received or the $400 for a couple. But focusing on that really saves taxpayers a tremendous amount of money. We made roughly $4.2 billion in new investments, including education, healthcare, and infrastructure across the Commonwealth. And then looking at, everyone wants to talk about, you know, what's going on in Washington. We were able to take $900 million and put that away in case anything happens. We just don't know. We don't know what we don't know. So we put $900 million into a fund looking at what may happen in Washington. What does concern me is, you know, we had a record number of vetoes from the governor. And, you know, that's just not working together to solve problems and solve issues. And anybody that knows me, I like to solve a problem and I'll work with you on an issue. We also had a record number of pieces of legislation that were never even heard in a committee. And I'm a firm believer in two things. One, every bill should be heard. It should go through the process. It should go through the subcommittee. It should go through the committee. And also, when you introduce a bill, it must be germane to the intent of the original bill. If Washington that did those two things, that would solve a lot of our problems. But they don't. And you know, those are two things I firmly believe in, and that's something that we need to move forward with somehow. But just not, you know, you had 2 minutes to testify on the bill, boom, it was gone. That's all you had. So, you know, wasn't even really heard or before the committee. We put an additional $782 million, I believe, in public school systems. Of course, education remains a top priority, giving teachers the tools and the resources that they need to do their work. And I'm married to a teacher, so I hear it every day. And we spent roughly $12 million to develop high quality curriculum materials for math programs to really help kids catch up on the learning loss from COVID. And, you know, it's not just the learning loss. There are a number of other things that were involved there as well, but we need to catch up and we need to, you know, my girls did not miss anything, you know, during COVID. Chloe had to come home, my oldest, and then Ella, I will say the wild one, the crazy one. But, you know, being here in a small town and being in a rural area made a big difference. And I think our rural kids did much better because of it.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Much better. And I think that really made a really big difference. You know, we're looking at, and this, even though it doesn't affect the town, the car tax is the number one hated tax in the Commonwealth. The problem is we need to make our localities whole. That bill went away, unfortunately, but you know, we could have made a difference in this past session. And if we do something, and I think it may be coming because everyone's really starting to focus on this, if we can do something, but the localities in the end have to remain whole through all of this. Of course, families, you know, they're at the heart of Virginia. And one of the things that we look at, families, I mean, how can I say it? We're looking at parents now want our schools to raise their children.
Yeah, that's
And
crazy.
that's true. It really is. And one of the worst things in society is this.
Yes.
Make sure mine's off. Hold on. Okay, I think I cut it off. But it really is. I grew up on a party line.
Mm-hmm.
You remember those?
Yep.
I grew up on a party line. We did not track our kids.
Mm-mm.
And, kids are constantly
Yeah.
doing this. And it takes away from really learning. You can learn all you want in a school, but you need to learn the lessons of life. It's
Mhm.
about personal responsibility. It really is. And I introduced a bill actually dealing with this to limit cell phone use and so forth for our kids.
Okay.
A couple of years ago, finally got it passed. It was the other side, but we were able to finally get that done. And it limits the cell phone use to 1 hour per day for kids under 16 years old, unless the parents are able to override that. I think that's effective January 1st, 2026,
Okay.
which is good. It's a start.
Yeah.
It is a start. And we need to do something to limit our kids because, they get on their phones and, what's one thing after another. And these social media companies actually target these children
Oh, yeah.
to do things. And, and eventually you're down a rabbit hole
Right.
and it's 5 hours later.
I've done that.
You've done that. And it's 5 hours. And that's what happens.
Yeah, I ended up looking up one
You
thing
know-
and seeing if, next thing you know, I'm seeing if penguins have knees.
And we
So-
didn't have these when I was a kid. I was outside catching lightning bugs. I'm the most excited when I see that first lightning bug
Yeah.
everywhere. And I can't wait for that to happen.
Then you had to be in before the streetlights. And when
Well,
street
we
lights
didn't
came
have
on.
street lights where I was. I grew up in the stick.
Oh, yeah.
I just listened for the whistle.
Mm-hmm.
I did, and all of us can whistle. All I had to hear was the whistle. And riding a sapling, if ever any of you have ever ridden a sapling where you climb the tree and
Mm-hmm.
bend it over and bounce on it,
Yep.
kids don't know how to do that anymore.
Nope.
I mean, those are the joys of life. Jumping off the Urbanna Bridge. I won't say any more about my kids, but but those are rites of. I mean, she's like it's rite of passage. Those are things kids do, but just make sure you're safe and you do it the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we really need to do. So one thing I'd like to talk about is local authority preservation and your ability here in Urbana to have local authority. So although solar doesn't really affect you, that is something we're looking at across the state. And there was legislation this past year that would have really stripped the ability for localities to regulate solar. That's not good. We were able to finally get the patron to pull that bill. But then you're looking at other things, accessory dwelling units.
Yeah.
We've had, sharing counties county cities and towns, I was able to work with some folks to get that defeated. But you need to have the local authority here for what works best for you. A blanket approach across the state will not work.
No.
What is in Northern Virginia and what works up there is not here. And local authority, and I was actually presented in local authority is, I mean, you've got to have that. I was actually in King William a few nights ago, and of course they came to the Board of Supervisors and someone was presenting on an accessory dwelling unit. There was some conversation, they approved it, but it fits in with the locality. And you are the ones that know your people, you know your locality, and you know what's best for you. It's not up to the state to do that
Right.
because it strips away any zoning authority that you would have. So we really can't do that. Of course, I talked a little bit about, the 900 million we were able to put away under the, with the uncertainty in the federal government. Some people actually, I think it was in an article a couple of weeks ago, regarding a question I asked when we were in the appropriations committee. I said, is the sky really falling? Because what we're being presented, where they projected 32,000 jobs lost here in the Commonwealth, where we've had 10,000 right now. I'm not going to get into bureaucrats and federal government and so forth, but it's been 10,000 roughly in Virginia. But they projected 32,000. And then they projected $250 million deficit in our budget. Well, Virginia, we have a $1.7 billion surplus, a strong economy. Most of that is from withholding taxes, and good governments in the appropriations committee, we're conservative. We look at the way, we're supposed to spend money. And, I think we've done fairly well with that. And it's actually projected it's going to go over 2 billion by the time the fiscal year ends.
Nice.
And Virginia economy is very strong to withstand, what's happening in Washington. There are some concerns. I mean, all of us, we have to face that. There are some concerns, but we look at it and a lot of folks are saying the sky's falling. We don't know, but I think we're well prepared and in a good position in Virginia to be able to address some things. As far as here in the district, of course, it's 68th district. I always want to say the 98th, but jobs, economic development remains my top priority. With 76% of our workforce driving out of the district, and the folks that are behind between 9 to 5, we have the lowest wages in the state. So what are we doing? What am I doing? Well, we've invested quite a bit across the Commonwealth in these large business ready sites. We don't have the infrastructure to do that.
Nope.
And nor, I don't think we want it either. Do we want that Lego plant? Do we want that Rolls-Royce plant here? It will change us. It changes who we are. And we don't have, the qualified workforce to be able to do that. So let's do things that fit in with us. Of course, blue catfish, #1 priority. Just got a call from somebody about that. And that's taken off. People thought I was absolutely crazy
No, it's true.
doing that. And that is the #1 threat to the Chesapeake Bay. By far, the #1 threat. They eat everything from 400,000 rockfish eggs in a gulp to clams to muskrats, crabs. They ate enough menhaden in the peanut bunkers, as we grew up calling the peanut bunkers, the smaller ones, that live in the upper reaches in the river the first year or two of their life. They ate enough of those to prevent 1 million tons from reaching adult size every year and going to the bay. Omega only pulls at 58,000 tons.
Was there a catfish factory up and running yet?
We have actually, I wanted $4 million into it initially. I got $250 the first year and the second year. And now I have $500,000 moving forward, up to a $250,000 grant. We have one here in the Middle Peninsula that's been awarded the grant for processing and flash freezing.
Nice.
So, and the way the language is written, it really shows preference to our region too, which is good. So I'm looking in the upcoming session to increase that funding. And actually had someone, just call me a little while ago just to talk about that. And he's one of the experts. So, I mean, just in one stretch of the James River, I think it was a 5-mile area in the James River, they eat 2 to 3 million crabs a year.
Wow.
So we're talking about, our crab industry. So people thought I was crazy. Everybody studied it and studied and studied it. I'm like, it's time to do something.
Mm-hmm.
So and I had a question here about dredging a little while ago. So dredging is a tremendous problem across the state. We have hundreds of creeks in the Middle Peninsula, Northern Neck, and the Eastern Shore that need to be dredged. The federal government used to fund that through earmarks, which they don't do anymore. So we have, I believe it was $8 million in the Virginia Waterway Maintenance Fund to that, but it ended up in the Port Authority, which is not where I wanted it. We were able to move that over to VMRC this past year. So the money and how it's spent will be more accessible. We have sites that are, that are ready to go in some of these creeks. And we're looking at starting a municipal dredge program that will rotate between the three regions. So that's a big deal.
Yes.
Because, our waterways, that's our bread and butter. That's our bread and butter. So we're able to move that forward and to jumpstart that and get it going. Of course, flooding resiliency I'm very passionate about that. We're moving forward with some things where, I believe I probably talked to you about this at the last meeting where I tweaked a Living Shorelines bill
Mm-hmm.
to that really, it can decrease the cost of a living shoreline by up to 80% with new technologies. So we now have 19 companies that want to do business right here in the Middle Peninsula, 39 of which are, 39 total in the Commonwealth. And we're looking at some sites right now to start a resiliency industrial park, I guess we would call it, where they can collaborate, do the science, the technology, these are good paying jobs. These are very good paying jobs. And it's not only solves a problem for here in Virginia, but for the world. So we're very excited about that. But of course, there are always challenges. It's going to take some time, but we're working through that. Actually visited the Institute of Advanced Learning and Research down in Danville. When was that? A week and a half ago. It was on a Friday. And what they are doing is absolutely incredible as far as job training, what they're teaching these kids and adults to do. So of course they lost their textile, they lost their furniture industries as well. They had the infrastructure. But for manufacturing parts to welding, quality assurance, you name it, making parts for submarines and going into DOD, and it's absolutely incredible what they're doing. Tremendous amount of money invested into that. But over the last couple of years, 8,000 jobs in 2 counties.
Wow.
8,000 because they built a pipeline for the workers and the workforce and the companies like that. So what I'm looking at now is, all right, we can train these kids like they're training them, but guess what? We don't have those types of businesses here.
Right.
We've got to train folks to fit in with who we are. We need to realize who we are and what we need and create that pipeline. So working on some things regarding flooding resiliency and take that model and bring it here to be able to create something new and different. Of course, healthcare and being a pharmacist, that's one of my number one, priorities. Everybody looks at me, as far as healthcare advice. So there are only 2 providers in the House of Delegates now and 1 in the Senate. I have 2 pharmacists in the House and 1 dentist in the Senate. When I came in, we probably had 8 providers.
Wow.
And 1, 2, 3, like 4 doctors, pharmacists, nurse, and as far as healthcare, they look to us to make those decisions.
Right.
So, well, not make the decisions, but to work with them to make the decisions. So it's kind of been a challenge lately, but we are starting to make a difference. Won't get into that really doesn't affect you here locally, but I will say on the healthcare side, and as a pharmacist, I see the need for generic drugs to be manufactured here in the United States. Probably 85 to 90% are manufactured overseas. So, number one, you look at the quality, and there have been some federal government studies looking at the quality of these medications. There are source problems, there are drug distribution problems. So when a patient is, discharged from a hospital, you've got 8 prescriptions, 2 or 3 may have an issue with. They get the 5, but the other 3, there's an issue with. The prior authors, whatever it may be, or distribution problem or drug shortage problem. Guess what? They only get the 5. What happens? They end up back in the hospital. They end up back in the hospital. So the health outcome is not very good, and the cost is tremendous. So we can prevent that. So actually, I'm working on something right now, and we'll have it in the upcoming session on the advanced manufacturing of generic drugs in here in the Commonwealth, because we have the tools. We have a number of companies. We have the Medicines for All at VCU. It's under the School of Engineering.
Yes.
Are you familiar with that?
Yes.
So the Medicines for All, it's under VCU School of Engineering.
Yes, it's pretty
So
awesome.
it's incredible. They have a PhD program.
Yes.
But not only that, but to, how do you do the outreach with our community colleges to be able to train our kids to work in these industries? So that you're looking at thousands of jobs and billions of dollars in economic development
Yep.
across the state. I mean, we just announced Lilly. Virginia can be the leader in this.
Well, Lily's
So
right
I'll-
there in Richmond, so,
well, Lily's-
part of Lily.
Well, they're starting up. There's a new investment in, coming to Virginia.
Oh, okay, good.
So it's kind of, I was working on this before that actually took place, but I'm using some of the things that they've already done were in my model.
Okay,
So I've
good.
been working with some folks to be able to move this forward over the last 4 to 6 months. So hopefully we can get this moving.
Yeah, definitely.
So like sonography is a big problem. No, is in a sonography program. Our hospitals were struggling. So I was able to create a sonography program within our community college. It's been great. It has been absolutely wonderful. And we need to look at what opportunities are available in healthcare to our students and start to target them in K through 12 to keep them here instead of leaving. So we had right now we're working on the Virginia Rural Health Transformational Grant, which is a federal grant coming to the states, which can be up to $1 billion per state over the next 5 years. That's a lot of money.
Yeah.
But the programs we put into place, they have to be sustainable in the long run. So we actually held a forum. I tried to get it here in the Middle Peninsula, but it was between the Northern Neck and Middle Peninsula, and we ended up in Warsaw. We had 50 providers, free clinics, health systems, everyone there, just to listen. So DMAS Medicaid was there and listened, and we need to come up with solutions for rural healthcare.
Absolutely.
And being on the Joint Commission of Healthcare and looking at life expectancy across the Commonwealth in some areas versus our urban areas where you have access, and it's just a different world in those areas. It can be up to 20 years difference in life expectancy. 20 years. So rural Virginia, we have some things we really need to do. So I am very involved in that, and trying to solve those problems. Of course, I'll just mention a couple of things. Coleman Bridge.
No toll.
So we got no tolls. So worked very hard with the secretary on that. So we were able to get that and buy they had some bonds on that. So we were able to get that removed. I have had some people say, well, why did you remove the tolls? Because that limits our growth. I'm like, no, it's up to the boards of supervisors and town councils to control the growth. I mean, you're the ones that make those decisions, but it's definitely a benefit to those people that commute each and every day.
Exactly.
And of course, the Norris Bridge,
Oh,
I created the special infrastructure bill, Ryan McDougall and I did some years ago. And this, we still weren't able to get the funding going for that. And working with the secretary, we were able to get that done. Even though we're going through the bond process to be able to do it, it's going to save us money in the long run. But to tell you honestly, that bridge today, it would never be built with 7,500 cars a day going across it. I did the math, and I think at 7,500 cars over 30 years, it would be like an $11 toll. So we're fortunate to be able to get that done.
yeah.
So we did a lot of work to make that happen. So, we were able to work with our health departments and I passed legislation on finally be able to get to yes, because, in permitting on some things that we've had some issues. Septics and wells are, biggest part of that. And the problem is, you put those applications in and they say no. Bureaucrats are very good at saying no. But how do you get to yes? And that's all I asked for, is how do you get to yes? So we were able to get some guidelines and some things there. Of course, the DMV Select program. Where's Ted?
Ted, that's me. I did that.
You did that?
I did.
So I was able to get that into the budget to do they're doing a review of the DMV Select program on the viability of the DMV Select and how it impacts localities.
Oh, yeah, there's still people
So
looking for
I
it.
got that language, and it was a language amendment. So that study is due December 1st to come back. because, and I talked to Ted quite a bit about it.
Can you send it to us when they
We can get that.
send it?
We can get
'Cause-
that.
Yeah, that was,
Yeah, I'll
that
get it to Ted.
was some hard work. So when you say you have to go through hard work, I
Yeah.
understand to get
Yeah,
it.
so I was able to get that into the budget to review the DMV Select program. It was a language amendment. So there was actually no cost for us. Of course, I got your charter through that y'all
Yes.
requested. So Mayor, welcome to the quorum.
Mm-mm.
Um, one of the things that I did is, universities, of course, um, the state funds them to keep tuition low. Many of the decisions are made behind closed doors, and we don't see what's going on.
Yep.
So I introduced legislation that requires subcommittees, committees, of colleges and universities, public universities, to be live streamed, recorded, and archived. You would have thought the sky would fall.
Mm.
It's going to be cost prohibitive. We can't do this. We don't need that. I'm like, look, you can do it. We've got localities. We've got these folks that can do it. So I've got Chev. I'm trying to think of the stakeholders that are involved, but Chev is involved, the colleges and so forth. So we've got to come up with a plan. We have that coming in January, and we'll pass that legislation because that is actually very important.
Mm-hmm.
That is very important because these are taxpayer dollars. Of course, bureaucracy is one of the things that drives me absolutely crazy. Trying to navigate through the process drives me crazy. And, the legislative intent and what we move forward, and by the time it filters down between regulations and then to the bureaucrats to enforce that, it changes. I've actually had NGOs on the back end, trying to derail some things that we're trying to do, but that was not the intent of the legislation. So, I shouldn't have to hear about it. And the only way I can solve that is, picking up the phone and trying to make some calls. So that actually, that's one of the hardest things to deal with. That and trying to educate the rest of the state on our challenges and our opportunities here within the Middle Peninsula. Because when you look at the state and the economic programs that are available and lay them across a map, the Middle Peninsula, the Northern Neck, and the Eastern Shore are all kind of grayed out. Part of that problem is we're considered fully employed. The dollars are made somewhere else.
Oh.
They're made somewhere else. We don't have the business tax. Our employment rate's low, but the dollars are made somewhere else. We don't have the business tax here. So, King William, they're like at 2-point-something% unemployment. And, over 80% of the people in Matthews actually drive out of the county every day. And we only have 38 employers total across the Middle Peninsula that in private sector that have 50 or more people. 38 in 6 counties. So you take a block in Northern Virginia, they have more employees than we do during the day. They really do. So when you look at that, that's a big problem. That's a tremendous problem. So we're, educating not only the urban areas, but also rural Virginia too, because when you look at rural Virginia, we have 4 distinct regions. We have the Valley. They've got all the advanced manufacturing, of course, right there. We've got Southwest and the coal, and they've done a tremendous job, revitalizing Southwest Virginia and the dollars that have been put into there. You've got Southside that has the Tobacco Commission and a tremendous amount of money, which pretty much funded, the program in Danville. Then you've got us. Those are the 4 regions of Virginia, and we don't have anything like that. So that's one of my biggest challenges, not only educating the urban areas, but also, other rural areas of the Commonwealth. So, I usually like to close with, just like the budget. I didn't like everything in it, and we need to sit down and need to work through things, and we need to talk through things. I think ethics reform was one of the worst things we could have done, because Democrats and Republicans would go out together, they would have dinner, now they don't go out at all. That's where you'd forge relationships. You'd drink a beer, you'd have dinner, and you'd solve things. You don't see that anymore. You really don't see it in the General Assembly. And we still need to work together and not just say no, and we need to find a way to get to yes. And you ask either one of my daughters who Mick Jagger is. Everybody knows Mick Jagger, the Rolling Stones. And they will say he is a great philosopher. And they will say that first thing, because you can't always get what you want.
Right.
And so with that, Mayor, no, thank you. Sorry for going on so long. I held out on the filibuster. I could have gone 3 times longer, but didn't even really use my notes. But
Well, I have a request of you though.
Yes, ma'am.
Fight every data center that wants to come into this,
okay,
into our area. No data centers.
yeah, let me kind of I actually had legislation this past session looking at water usage, which really concerned me.
Right.
Because we're in the Eastern Virginia groundwater management area, and I'm kind of the water guy in the General Assembly. But you do now have data centers that are like a tractor trailer. I mean, size of a tractor trailer that they can stack and bring in, and totally enclosed, no water uses, no anything.
No power, because that does stuff
but
with the power too.
It will do the power, but what you need to do is an analysis on the power usage in each locality. And there are localities that have a tremendous amount of excess power in the Middle Peninsula. So if it creates jobs and you can do it like that, I'm like,
If you can do it like that, but if it comes to
Yeah.
using water, because they using a tremendous amount of water.
so I actually had, and that bill kind of went away, but because I was worried about the water, and it would have required localities to look at their comprehensive plan and look at the water usage when data centers.
Right.
So I think with the technology and how we're moving forward, it's just like this. I mean, you look at a cell phone. I think solar panels are going to be about this size in 20 years. I mean, it's crazy. And you know, this has more power in it than what sent man to the moon with. And it's in your pocket.
Panel, so I know.
So I think technology is going to change.
Keith,
Yes, sir.
you speak about water.
Mhm.
We've got water lines in the ground that are as old as I'm there. And I'm the same age as the mayor.
Wait a minute. He's a day older than I am.
Yeah.
Is that older than Ted?
When I'm down, this is.
Oh, yes.
To dig a well or to do anything,
Mhm.
we go to USDA.
Mhm.
They have formulas, in part deals with per capita income. We have a high per capita income, so high that we don't get grants.
We'll get grants, and that goes.
No, but wait. Middlesex Water Authority, which is right down the road, right across the way. They use the same formula, but they use the county.
They use what's that? I'm sorry.
The county has a lower per capita income than we
Right.
do.
Right.
And they were able to get grants and send that water to the wealthiest end of the county.
Right.
There's something wrong. We need help in the Virginia legislature to help little towns like us maintain our water.
But it's not only just dealing with the water, it deals with everything. And it goes back to what I was saying about, you know, your per capita income, the out commute rate, and the people that live here. So, I mean, there's a big problem when you're considered, you know, fully employed. I mean, localities have a low unemployment rate, but yet, you know, our localities are running 60, 70, 80% free and reduced lunch. That's a problem. And that's what we need to overcome. And it's hard to get the state and the federal government to understand that. Believe me, we've been pushing those buttons. But that's something we need to change at, you know, DHCD, I guess, as you know, as far as the grants and so forth. It's a big problem.
Ted and I just got back earlier from a drinking water funding workshop. spent all day there, and we heard three things. There's money. We're not sure what the federal government's gonna do, so that's
Yeah.
creating a
Who's that?
wild card and things.
Right.
But your ability to get the money is directly based upon the demographics of your town, and if you have any sort of water pollution or lead in the system. And
Right.
unfortunately, we don't qualify for any of these things, so I said, Ted, we need to throw some radium in the water tower or something, I don't.
Just throw some Prozac in there and everybody.
Yeah.
Okay. But you know, the thing, but that's coming from USDA.
Yeah, Office of Drinking Water, it was.
Office
interesting.
Drinking
He-
Water.
He was VDH, right? And the one thing he mentioned is
Yeah, I'm
he
trying
was
to
worried about the federal
Lance.
government, but he was also said that, well, some of our funds were restricted this year to a couple of localities. I guess they got earmarked in budget. So I thought that was interesting also.
Yeah, and
Uh.
that's politics there. So if you need something on that end, let me know and we'll see what we can do.
need help.
We'll let you know right
Need
in five.
help, But let's work and I'll get with Ted and we can, maybe put in a budget amendment
There were,
to be able to do something, the dollar amount, what we can do and the need for it and an explanation. And so we'll need an explanation on the back end
Right.
of why this is needed and our challenges here and why we typically don't qualify.
Yeah, to have
just,
our.
just for,
Frequently-
How frequently are the income levels reassessed based on the economy?
some are annually, some
Are they?
are based on, the census, some are based on the midpoint census. It
Okay.
varied on the funding program you were
Okay,
going
thanks.
after.
Mhm.
And just for general information, the speakers came from VDH, Virginia Rural Water Association, Virginia Resources Authority, American Water Works Association, the Office of Drinking Water of VDH, USDA, and the Department of Housing and Community Development. So
Okay.
it was a smorgasbord
Mhm.
of possible funding sources.
Okay.
But what we kept hearing over and over again, this is killing the speaker points I was going to make later.
Sorry.
That's okay. What we kept hearing over and over again was, to use baseball, strike one, we're not a distressed community.
Right.
Strike two is our water quality is very good. It doesn't pose a public health. So there's strike two.
You've got infrastructure challenges, so you need to,
Right.
Yeah, we've got.
Is
distribution.
basically what
It's-
it boils
it's
down to.
Distribution. As
Yeah.
Mr. Tuning said, it's the lines.
Right.
It's the lines.
Something that would really help small localities like Urbana is if the revenue from the data centers could be shared. Because, for example, a data center could locate in Middlesex on the boundary of Urbana. Urbana citizens would have effects in terms of water and noise potentially, and get none of the money.
Yeah, and
And the smaller localities don't have the space.
Right.
understand that. And if
Just a
you don't mind, but yeah, I appreciate that. That's something I'm working on. I started the Middle Peninsula Alliance, which kind of got derailed for a while. There's some things that happened and reactivating that very, very, very soon to bring our localities together to discuss these issues and to come up with solutions. I mean, you can have an MOU between the localities or whatever it may be. I mean, but I don't know if the General Assembly, I don't know how the General Assembly, if it would go well, but if we can get our localities to get along through the Middle Peninsula Alliance, because a business that locates in Middlesex or in Gloucester or, Essex, it benefits everyone.
I know.
And how we can share that revenue. And that's part of the Middle Peninsula Alliance model. We're going to do some bylaws changes and do some things and put that together. And I think that's an excellent point. We currently don't have any data centers now, but we'll see what happens. I mean, the amount of money that comes from data centers
Is huge.
is
Mhm.
absolutely
Mhm.
tremendous.
Mhm.
And I
it
don't
is-
fault
it's-
the counties,
You
for a
can't,
minute, but share the wealth.
And it's just like, it goes back to, that's right. Share the wealth and because it affects everyone. So how can we come together through the MPA and design a model to make that work?
Mhm.
I don't like the solar. I mean, the solar's different though, but because that's not shared revenue, but it does give the opportunity. I'm not saying solar's right or wrong. I just said, you know what, the solar facilities that are going into our localities, they're being approved and our localities are getting very little out of it.
That's right. That's right.
So we had one that was going in the district. It was barely enough between the M&T taxes and the SCC taxes to pay a paraprofessional at a school.
Wow.
It was only like $18,000 is all the locality was
These are
getting.
going external to.
Well, you know where that power goes? It doesn't go on the grid. It goes to Loudon.
Yeah.
It goes to Northern Virginia. It goes to Fairfax. It goes to Google, Microsoft, or whoever. They actually purchase that power.
Right.
And these Northern Virginia localities that are creating hundreds of jobs and huge economic wealth, where the state wanted, we had some folks that wanted to say, you know what, solar across Virginia, the state's going to control it. So actually, my legislation, it didn't say solar was right or wrong. It just said you can negotiate through a siting agreement voluntarily, and it's not a proffer. It just says it's an open book. We need broadband. We need schools. We need fire, EMS, whatever. Write us a check. And, is the juice worth the squeeze? And I tell people all the time, and growing up, if you pay me enough, I'm going to shovel it. And that's what it boils down to. Is it worth the locality or not? And it's up to the locality then, boards of supervisors, to be able to make that decision. And it's up to them and up to the people. So we left that decision up to them, because if they want to shovel it and have it. What concerns me though, it runs out about 35, 40 years. So I had a decommissioning bill to look at that. But we have some localities right now that when you look at the jobs and what they don't have, they started to look at these siting agreements and the solar. It can almost 100% offset their entire county budget for the next 30 years. That's how much money that is. But I'm like, be careful, guys, because you need to plan for the future, and you need to use that revenue wisely, build your infrastructure, create a pipeline for other jobs and to do different things. But that's how much money was actually out there, because rural Virginia was left out of this, and our Northern Virginia localities were, tell you honestly, taking advantage of us, just like they take advantage of us on, a lot of the environmental things too. We can move forward on a lot of these environmental issues, which I really didn't even get into, because they're telling us how we need to live and what we need to do. They have created huge economic wealth in these areas and saying, all right, we've done the damage to the Chesapeake Bay, but you can't do anything out there at all. Nothing. So, we're dealing with FEMA right now. Is one of the issues. I didn't bring that up. But, FEMA comes in all its localities on their floodplain ordinances and management and what's ever going on in that locality. We've had 2 localities audited in the Middle Peninsula. FEMA comes in and says, where are your permits? What's happened? What's going on? And under federal regulation under this, all it says is localities shall ensure that all permits are issued and in compliance. Well, VDOT put in a bridge. Well, that's VDOT. They're like, that's VDOT. Guess what? Locality had nothing to do with that. They dinged the locality. Yep. You're familiar with that.
Yeah.
They dinged them.
Huh.
And it's any disturbance within the floodplain. If you put a shovel in the ground, that's disturbance. If the state puts in a culvert pipe, if you're putting in broadband, it's then up to the locality here to oversee any and all permits. So finally, I've been working with DCR, our state agency that is over this, who's kind of ignored it. They have ignored this because it's up to them to develop model ordinances for our locality to be able to make sure it's done in the right way. They pushed it away. So finally, just actually got a text yesterday that it's being pushed up the pipeline. And it's been almost a year I've been working on this. And this is just state agencies I've been dealing with. And it drives me crazy because they should be assisting our localities to develop the model ordinances and to make sure the state, private sector, and our localities are all communicating to make sure the permits are issued properly. So those are the things that absolutely drive me crazy because it's just common sense. So
Mulch police.
you've been talking to Louis.
Yeah.
But you're exactly right. It's the mulch police. So you can't do anything on your property unless you have permit. But then FEMA comes down. But here's the thing: if FEMA comes down and dings the locality, I think it's twice. I believe they come the first time, the second time. Guess what? The flood insurance for all homeowners goes up everywhere in that locality. Everywhere in that locality. So that's what we need to try to prevent. And so we're working on it. We're getting that done. So we finally got to have a document that's going through the pipeline actually as of yesterday, to be able to move that forward. Yes, ma'am.
Well, Ted said that they said that our water was pretty good.
Mhm.
So what do they consider pretty good? I thought it was condemned for shellfish eating.
This is
That's drinking water.
not.
Oh, drinking water.
So
Okay.
shellfish is a different thing and something else I'm working on. Of course, we're the land of failed septic systems on the East Coast between Middle Peninsula, Eastern Shore, and Northern Neck. So I have 2 systems right now that are actually installed that are totally above ground. The treatment is above ground. You only pump it once a year, so no nitrogen, no phosphorus, no E. coli, no failed systems, no anything. And the problem is now many of these failed systems, you have that 100-foot buffer in the RPA. Getting those fixed is a tremendous challenge through VDH, which makes no sense. I mean, we've got it's not only health issue, it's environmental problems and so forth with these failed septic systems. So I have these 2 alternative systems that VDH really doesn't have the way to permit. We have 2 of them installed on the Middle Peninsula to design, study, maintain, and be able to try to find a way to get the cost down. Think we're getting close and we can get the cost down close to a conventional system. That's a game changer. That is a game changer because what will happen is it affects property values and all you need is a variance from the county. That's it. That's it. But that does bring up something else because she mentioned dredge. I talked about dredging already. Yeah. So I talked about dredging. So we're working on all kinds of things.
Good. Thank you.
I just have one question.
Go ahead. There's not that many people here.
Is Rappahannock General Hospital, are they,
Can be close.
has there been any word about?
They're not in my district.
Oh, okay.
You know,
It's been a while.
I have, it's across the river, but
Saying it's a possibility it will
Yeah.
close.
well, I mean, that's under the federal cuts. I mean, I think they'll be okay. Access, of course, to healthcare is a tremendous challenge, and that's part of our rural transformational grants to be able to have sustainable programs. There's still a lot of unknowns under, what's coming down from the feds. And, we'll have to see. A lot of folks are looking at insurance, healthcare. Most of what you hear, when you lose Medicaid, it's not most of what's going to happen is under the SNAP program, and which is going to require an able-bodied person to have, is it 40 hours a month? Trying to remember, 40 hours a month to either volunteer to work if you're able-bodied. So that's where we're getting a lot of the pushback on that. But, we'll see what happens with that moving forward. And there are a lot of things there are a lot of unknowns, of course, with what's going to happen with the feds. But, federal government is big. It is too big. So at some point it needs to downsize because those are taxpayer dollars that we're spending. Federal government is too large. And our founding fathers, of course, if they looked at our federal government right now, they would not recognize it. So, as Thomas Jefferson said, we should all be, people that are elected to Congress, and I believe this in the state, and we do this, we're part-time. We're part-time legislature. We don't make much. And people don't realize, I think you make a huge amount of money. Believe me, it's not much. I spend more in gas. I actually just looked at my odometer. I bought that vehicle 14,000 miles last year. I've got over 90,000 on it now. So it's cost me quite a bit. But, he said, people, their representatives need to go back and be cleansed by the people, which is true. Congress right now, they're full-time. It's a full-time job, and it shouldn't be that way. And I firmly believe that they should be part-time legislators like we are, that every bill should be heard, and that any amendment should be germane to the intent of the original law. You do those three things, you take care of a lot of problems in Washington.
Too easy.
It's too easy. It's simple. I mean, and I always try to keep things simple. But I can talk about a lot more if you want to. I've got a lot of things going on.
Yeah.
I know you do. I know you do.
Mr. Mayor, if I may,
Yes.
I'd like to call out one thing that Delegate Hodges did. I think some of you would know, but most people don't. We were having difficulty communicating with the state agency. And when we finally broke through that communication barrier, the communication I got back was, well, you've got these 20 things to do and you've got 4 days to do them. And I wrote a very professional but very pointed email to the person and everybody else that they CC'd. And the next thing I did was I called Delegate Hodges and said, let me give you the backstory. Let me tell you what's just happened. And he said, okay, I'll call the secretary. I'm not going to name the agency to protect the guilty. But he said, let me call the secretary. And he said, I'll do that tomorrow. That same day, that night, I got another email from somebody higher up in the food chain in that state agency with a completely different attitude about willing to work with us, didn't quite understand all the past history, and we will do whatever we can to help you out. We could have lost tens of thousands of dollars based on the first email. So I want to thank you publicly for what you did.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, I mean, thank you. But that's what we do. And, that's what we're
Problem
supposed to do.
solving. Yeah.
Many folks don't do that, but, I think I typically get along with most people fairly well, and both parties fairly well. And that's what you do. You work together to try to solve a problem. And sometimes trying to solve problems gets in my way too. But I also have a lot of useless things in my head. And my wife always says on Jeopardy, if there was a category called useless, and I won't say the second part of it, I would sweep it every time. So useless for $1,000, you got it. But it's what we do, and we're glad to help anytime, and always glad to help you, Mayor, and members of the council. So y'all know how to reach me if you ever need me.
And if I can chime in, I know Keith works very closely with it always comes up as what does the Middle Peninsula Planning District Commission do for us? And we're peripheral to a lot of the stuff that he's covered in terms of failing septic systems, because we have our own water treatment plant. We're getting into that later. The sinking land, the rising sea levels, the shoreline restoration, the blue catfish. It's the entire product of this entire Middle Peninsula area. Louis Lawrence has been just a godsend to this organization to get this going, and working with Keith to get a lot of stuff done that I can tell you, before I started going to the meetings, I didn't know what a blue catfish was, or the fact that, people got wet feet walking across the grass because their septic system's failing. But I know that now, and I know the people that are working to get that done. And so these things that work to mitigate the FEMA flood insurance stuff that if we got dinged trying to get that straightened out. Those are all things that don't affect us directly yet, but have some potential to affect us in a great way somewhere down the line. And those organizations are working tirelessly to get that stuff done.
Well, thank you, Mayor. And kind of, and if I may, kind of how I operate. We're running a little bit late this year, but I have a few people that we get together and we kind of have a legislative roundtable, discuss ideas. Gosh, we've had some of those meetings where we start at 8 o'clock in the morning. We haven't finished till almost midnight. We bring in dinner and there may have been a few drinks involved too to get some things done, but that's how we solve things. And I remember one year we had a spreadsheet of all of the ideas. So we have I won't say who, but we have a keeper of the book. So when we come up with a legislative idea during the year, because we're always talking about things. All right, we're going to put that in the book. We're going to put that in the book. So we go through that book and we lay it all out on a table. And, who does it have to go through? What's the possibility of it? What are the challenges? What is the fiscal impact? Can we get the money? Where does it need to go? And we digest that and we look at that and really look at how we can accomplish things here in the Middle Peninsula. It's not everyone's looking for that big win. You're not going to get that in the General Assembly. It's very difficult, but it's baby steps over time to build what we need here in the Middle Peninsula, and that's how we accomplish things. So,
And
but
that's
thank
how
you.
far we got here.
That's
Little town,
That's right.
little steps.
Little steps.
Thank you for all you do.
Thank y'all.
Thank
Thank you
you.
all for all you do. What you do is much harder, but thank you.
think so. I don't
All right.
think so either.
Thanks. Public comment. Anybody?
What's happening?
No way. No Billy Mayo?
No Billy Mayo.
Oh, wait, so bad.
All right. Work session matters.
Oh, oh my gosh, you got hair back.
I got hair back. Yes, it's coming back, folks. Coming back here, not anywhere else, but yeah, the cap may stay on through the winter. We'll see. The workshop that we were in today, I think they set the air conditioner on Arctic, and so I kept the cap on. Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council, ladies and gentlemen. Your first item of business is the water treatment waste options. So after presenting an editorial concerning wastewater treatment options, members of the council sought information and an opportunity to hear from Mr. Pete Mansfield. Staff has arranged for Mr. Mansfield to make a brief presentation this evening and has also provided the materials that allow historic insight into the issue of wastewater treatment options as well as the decisions made. And that's a lot of material. It's minutes, newspaper articles, emails, a draft of the transfer of the Hampton Road sanitation to the sanitation Hampton Road Sanitation District. For this evening, there's no fiscal impact on this matter. The staff recommendation is based on the fact that the town of Urbana removed itself for various reasons from the obligation of wastewater treatment, turning that responsibility along with assets and liabilities over to the Hampton Road Sanitation District. HRSD has been engaged with Mr. Mansfield. This issue seems to have been addressed, if not settled, per an email dated June 20, 2025 between Mr. Schwartz and myself. Still, if there's some action is desired by council, staff recommends a communication to HRSD asking that they be open to wastewater treatment alternatives that are perhaps less costly and more efficient, but in no scenario should the town return to managing wastewater management in any form.
No, thank you.
The council action requested is none, but in the alternative to communicate to HRSD, and you have a sample motion. I'd be happy to take any questions, but I think primarily you want to hear from Mr. Mansfield, but I'd be happy to take any questions you have. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I know.
All right.
How are you, Pete?
Yep. You hand them over to me. I'll do it.
I think we have them in our packet too. We have,
That-
I believe we have them. Yes. we
Yeah.
have.
Okay.
Well, I don't know. Maybe not all of it.
Thank you very much. This is a hard act.
Pass that one down
Each
and this one down. I'll keep one. You can pass
I was
this.
looking to see if it's the same.
Those are just letters that I passed back and forth to HRSD.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And
Thank goodness you are. I'm so glad. It really moved me when I read your piece. Thank you.
well,
Thank you, Pete.
thank you very much. Urbana, of course, is a town that I have loved since I was 20 years old and came here to look at a sailboat. I decided I wanted to live here. At that time, I was living in the part of Virginia that you don't even talk about now, which is so extreme southwest part of Virginia. But I will start with my talk. I really appreciate the chance to speak with you all. The package letters that I just handed you may help explain HRSD Hampton Roads Sanitation District's feelings about what I believe will cost the town about $400,000 per year more than what you're going to have to pay HRSD. $400,000 happens to be 23 times more than I believe that you can do it for. And what I would like to really push is, instead of sending it to Williamsburg, excuse me, to go through their plant, which I have every belief that their plant was built larger than they really needed to build it, and really don't have anything to go into it. So they're recruiting, and nobody ever does this, but I believe they're recruiting wastewater from us because they feel that would be a better way to handle it. Actually, I don't really think it will be, because they're talking about they would get it and it would go into the James River. But let me really follow my script a little bit more. I appreciate the chance to talk with you tonight. The package of letters that I just handed you may help explain HRSD's proposal that I believe will cost the town of Urbana about $400,000 per year, more than using local in-ground wastewater, very similar to a septic system, except done on a municipal scale. I originally made my proposal based on 38,000 gallons per day. HRSD, in the letters that you have, says that it's 60,000 gallons per day, which changed my savings from about 200,000 per year to 400,000. So that was finding out that you are really processing 60,000 gallons per day was a real change. I do understand why HRSD is charging as much as they are, which is $18 this year, $18.61 per 1,000 gallons to process using your plant to process it. There's still, I believe, charging $18.61 per 1,000 gallons. With my proposal, and by the way, this is a number that has been quite well proven, they could process at 80 cents per 1,000 gallon rather than $18.61 simply by putting it in the ground. Obviously, there is some infrastructure. For instance, you would have to buy the property that where this is put in the ground. And you would need, of course, to do the infrastructure to get it there. Urbanna is lucky in that they've already got the infrastructure to do what's called the surge tank. Obviously, you need some surge facility, and you already have it. You need a settling basin, which you already have. You do not need any nutrient removal if you put it in the ground. Although if you did want to do some nutrient removal, I don't know why you would, but it would not be necessary. You can do that by injecting air into the line going to the place where you put it in the ground. That will remove both nitrogen and phosphorus, or they'll oxidize it, which is what you want to do. So, HRSD is asking a lot of money so that they can build a pipeline to Williamsburg, which is 40 miles away. Now, why would we want to send it 40 miles away if we can put it in the ground free? That is the way we save the $400,000 per year. Again, $400,000 a year is a lot of money in my book. I've also heard that they might use drip dispersion once it as a discharge rather than into the James River, but into their ground. Drip dispersion is so simple, and it's well proven that neither the state nor the federal environmental agencies require any oversight regulations in any quantity that you want to put in. One large residential development just outside Urbanna has been successfully using drip dispersion for quite some years with no apparent problems. In my first letter to HRSD, dated August 11th, I asked, how can HRSD, an agency of our state government, propose a plan that costs our citizens 16 times more to dispose of our wastewater? By the way, the 16 times more is with using, talking 38,000 gallons per day. At $60,000 a day, the savings is 23, not 16 times, but 23 times less. In their reply, there was not a single word concerning costs, even though their proposed costs were just 16 times higher than I originally thought, but 23 times based on the $18.61 per 1,000 gallons. My proposal to Urbanna is to use the existing infrastructure for the collection and pumping to the Urbanna treatment facility, which would then provide surge capacity, solid settlements, and pumping to the drain field, which again probably would be located to the west of the campgrounds. I believe infrastructure for the conversion of the plant and the construction of the drip field would be, and now this is just a ballpark number. I can get you a better number, but this is my, I don't even want to call it a ballpark number. I just want to call it a guess more than, but I'm guessing at $4 million for the infrastructure change. That $4 million would be paid off in 10 years with the savings that we would get from doing that, after which, as I say, it will be 23 times cheaper than paying your $18.61, which will go up in inflation, but everything goes up in inflation, probably including my 80 cents. And once the debt is paid, I think I've covered this already. Once the debt is paid, Urbana could pay only 80 cents per 1,000 gallons for wastewater disposal. And thank you all for the opportunity to make this proposal. And I will be happy to answer any questions now, or you are more than welcome to send me an email and ask your questions that way. And in what I just passed out, also has the email.
I have a question, Pete.
Absolutely.
The effluent, whatever you're putting on the property, is it good for the property? Is it good? I mean,
No. It would be buried underground. The same as a septic. In fact, it is a septic system for all practical purposes. It won't hurt what you've got on the ground, but I don't think anyone would be very happy if you grew vegetables on that ground, to be perfectly candid with you.
Well, didn't they used to buy it from us and it would be given to farmers, or 10 years ago, 15 years ago?
Yeah, septic.
Yeah,
Throw it out on the ground.
wastewater is a fertilizer.
Mhm.
It's just that I personally would prefer to buy fertilizer than
Pete,
That
the,
makes so much sense.
the, developments that have this kind of system, one out at Hartfield, right? Wilton,
Whitestone
there's something or other, Wilton
has
Creek.
just gotten it. And I do believe there is one
there.
in Hartfield. And there's
Whitestone,
Whitestone has
but where? Where is there?
for the town of Whitestone.
Oh, I see. The town of Whitestone handles
Yeah.
their waste that way.
And I looked, I went at the invitation
Okay,
to look at what they had.
okay.
And I love it. It's a beautiful system. I think it's much more costly than what I'm describing here, because they were trying to take the nutrients out of, and first of all, the nutrients 1,000 years from now are not going to be too harmful. And after traveling through 600 feet of soil, that's nature's way of cleaning up our wastewater.
About Cedar Point, does Cedar Point
Cedar Point,
Yes.
I thought they did.
certainly does
Yes,
have that. And in my original write-up,
You mentioned that.
I mentioned that.
Ask you something that's mentioned in a letter from Chris Schwartz, who is the HRSD or HRSD hydraulic analysis manager. In response, he says, the fluctuations in flow temperature and pH make poor biological stability for denitrification. It is difficult to measure the nutrient removal and no reliable way to show compliance with permit requirements. Therefore, it cannot replace engineered treatment process required. What do you think about that?
I don't know what to think about that.
We know
There are no government
required.
requirements for what you put in the ground. I'm sure they wouldn't appreciate you putting arsenic in
Looks
it
like
or
Jason's
anything
nodding his head
like
to
that,
that.
but
I would think there would be requirements, yeah. But okay, okay, thank you.
what I have been told is there are requirements.
I mean, you have to be treated to a standard before the discharge.
That, which makes sense. Yeah.
I
Even
was
so, it's better
told-
than what's going into the creek.
Right.
Yes, of
don't
course,
everything
there's
the same.
standards going into the
Absolutely.
creek, which HRSD has done a good job of taking our plant and fixing that problem. For years and years and years, all we did was get a new permit to go another year
Yeah.
with the Otis spec.
It just has to be treated to before it really goes out, it's got to go through a process before it goes.
The
in
denitrification.
filtration
yeah.
And so forth. So,
Sure.
it's got to go through the process before it's.
So how do the septic trucks work that get stuff and then just go down and
Aren't
blow
you
it
sta-
onto a field out of their truck?
That's
sludge though.
Yeah, that's a totally different, that's actually treated to a standard as well.
It's treated from they pump it out of your septic tank to put it in their truck and then
No,
pump
no,
it
it's-
out?
no, It's treated.
That's
It's
sludge.
got to be treated.
So
before they do that.
I have a friend that's a truck driver and he drives for one of the big companies here. It looks like a gasoline carrier, but in fact, it's your septic treatment plants and they carry it to like Waverly. And actually goes to, I think it's an HRSD plant where they dispose of it. So when your septic tank gets pumped out here, it eventually ends up at a waste treatment plant in the end.
Well, when Britt's septic
Mhm.
service was still in business, he was a good friend of ours. He just loaded up and went and put it on a field down here and
And some of them have holding tanks, but they,
Yeah.
Oh, don't tell us about that.
Wouldn't they?
Oh, he's gone and dead, so.
In the Middle Peninsula where they can do some discharge that are permitted. We are working on having discharge sites here in the Middle Peninsula. HRSD should be able to take because right now we're having to pump and haul and go
Right.
a long ways away. But we are working right now to have some discharge sites because all it really is a connection to go into a pipeline. So we're working on trying to do that right now. To be able to say, you know what? Our truck should be able to go here. So that's just something we're looking at. Do pump and haul.
But that's if you pump, we're no longer allowed to pump.
Right.
We don't pump anymore. in
Yeah,
Urbana.
you don't pump
No.
and haul.
Mm-mm.
I'm working on some things on that though, but that's a mess.
Mm. Mm.
I can spend another 2 hours up here.
Yeah.
Well, and-
So
and I guess without us going back into the waste business.
Yeah.
What we would have to do is convince HRSD that it makes system because they own the property and the system.
Good luck with that.
Well,
Hmm.
that I can't, I
But I mean,
I really can't.
otherwise we'd have to buy it back from them
Yeah,
Yeah.
and,
Right.
and then figure out what to do with it, which I would never be in favor of.
Would you
Yeah.
like to run it, Pete? Would you like to be in charge?
look, HRSD has done a wonderful job of handling the wastewater coming from a plant that had never been working in spec. But when you think about it, the worst thing you can possibly do with wastewater that doesn't meet spec is put it in your surrounding water.
Yep.
If it doesn't meet spec, for goodness sake, put it in the ground rather than dump it
Yeah, not be able to eat our shellfish.
in the creek. But let me tell you, there is a lot of savings. Now, I don't know how you can go about it and who owns what property and that sort of thing. But in-ground disposal is so much cheaper than trying to put it in the waterways. And I believe HRSD is just now discovering that fact. Am I correct on that?
I have no idea.
Yeah.
Well,
well,
All right.
mine is just.
I think it would be worth having a conversation with them to see what our alternatives are, like this motion reads, to see if there's something else that we can do.
You should have the conversation.
Well, he,
Well, yeah, I think, again, I think the question is
he's already.
whether we want to continue to think about ways to reduce the cost, because when Pete is talking about reducing something to 400,000 or whatever it is, that's reducing our costs, because we pay those costs. The town doesn't pay those costs. We, the citizens, pay those costs.
Well, this
Every
motion
time
is
we
just
pay-
to have
every
a,
time we pay our water bill. So I think anything that we can do to over time, this is not an easy fix, it's not a fast fix, but over time to consider ways to more responsibly and inexpensively and perhaps more regionally to handle this kind of waste, I think is worth continuing to talk about.
right, and that's what the motion reads. So I would like to,
Well, I'm actually more concerned about the fact that the creek is
Whatever.
surviving the way it is with phosphate and
Yeah.
nitrate swaps from other locations that are more
Yes,
able to handle those wastes.
yes.
yeah.
It doesn't
Yes.
flow. Remember when we did the test
It's tidal.
years ago?
But again, there's nothing worse that you can do with out of spec wastewater than to throw it in
In the
our,
creek.
Our creek.
Yeah,
well, I guess it would be worse to put in our drinking
water,
water
yeah.
stream, but let's not, we're better than that.
Good. Well, will you help us?
Ma'am, I'll be here within a day of any time you ever call me.
Thank you,
Pete.
Pete. Thank you. Thank you.
Well,
Thanks for your.
can I make the
opinion.
motion for this? or-
Okay, so
Oh,
it's the
sorry.
will of council to make the motion and
Yeah, I would like to make the motion that the town administrator to communicate with Hampton Road Sanitation District, asking that they may be open to wastewater treatment alternatives that are perhaps less costly and more efficient to keep this wastewater out of our creek.
do I have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Thank you,
What
Mary.
about working with Pete? Like Ted. could
I-
work with Pete.
Well, yeah, I mean,
But he can always work with.
Yeah.
We
Yeah,
Need a
it's-
motion. Yeah.
As I say, I'll work any way I can
thank you, Pete.
All right,
with you all.
so we have the
Sec-
motion and
I second.
Mary second.
seconded. Any further discussion?
No.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed?
I oppose.
Okay.
We have to have an opposer.
Wait a second.
All right.
Hey, thank you all.
Thank you, Pete.
Thanks, Pete.
Thank you.
Very much.
Tell Judy hi.
I'll do that.
All right. Mr. Mayor, members of council, the next item is, I think we've already touched on a lot of this, is the drinking water funding workshop. The Office of Drinking Water, in collaboration with the Southeast Rural Community Assistance Project, hosted a no-cost drinking water funding workshop today in Fredericksburg. The workshop will feature representatives from funding agencies, and I read the list of some of those earlier, and other assistant providers. They gave presentations on funding options, eligibility criteria, application deadlines, and more. That stack of folders there is just from 4 of the presentations that of the 9 that we received. There's really, as indicated, I give you a briefing back from the meeting. No fiscal impact at the present time on this particular issue, so no council action is sought. Delegate Hodges mentioned the changes coming out of DC that was touched upon at the conference today, the workshop today, as Council Member Wilson noted. Basically, the pots are getting fewer, and whatever's in the pot that's left is getting smaller. That's basically the summary on that. Moving forward, what's our approach? And I use the baseball analogy. Strike one, our water quality is already good, so there's not posing a public health threat. Strike two, the distress of the community. And I think this is where Councilmember Tuning was going, Delegate Hodges, about if we could change the criteria, to kind of get us back into the game, it would be helpful. As I said, there were 9 presentations, at the end of which there was a panel where you could just basically open up and have discussion about, well, this is my problem, this is this problem. So, we presented our problem, and they basically said, well, and I'm going to be very candid here. They basically said, don't pay any attention to what we just told you, make an application. The thought behind that is we make an application, we get denied, and then they can go to the General Assembly and ask for more money and say, hey, look how many applications we had to turn down because we didn't have enough money, not because they met the eligibility. Okay. So you kind of get into that tug of war is it really worth doing this when we know what the outcome's going to be? All right. But we got to fix the infrastructure. Okay. And I thank you for your prior decision, because we got to take care of what we got now before we take on anything else. That's the bottom line here. Okay. So, the contact who represents VDH for this area, she and I briefly talked. We're going to probably try to get together next week or the week after, so we can have a very candid conversation about, we don't have time to play around and make 20 applications and get 18 denials. We need to be laser focused on who do we apply to and for what. So that's kind of the back brief on what we did today, but I would ask Councilman Wilson to add more, his perspective.
I spoke up at the end because I was very much this is a new industry for me, a new issue. And, there were many different groups presenting basically the same options. So like Ted said, it's all the same criteria, it seems like, for the most part. So I found that disheartening. I know when I first got in office, I went to one of it wasn't the VRA, one of the other.
VML?
Yeah, from VML, I got one of the government financing groups and got a quote, an interest rate and term quote for $8 million, which is our number we've been kicking around. We obviously cannot afford with our current size to pay for this outright in cash. We can't make the numbers work. But what I've realized from this workshop is it's not that black or white. Nobody's going to give us 100% of the money we need. We're going to have and we can't afford to borrow all the money ourselves and get no assistance from grants. So the answer is it's going to be a hybrid of grant and a loan. And most likely it's going to be more than one grant, probably spread across more than one project. So that was my opinion coming out of it today. And I agree with Ted. We don't have the town staff this is like a full-time project. I sort of think that there was several mentions of grants for engineering and project planning grants. And I think that may be the right start, is to get some sort of third party to help us with this.
That one came out, I think, from DHCD, and I've worked the planning grants and the project grants when I was in Greensville. One thing I want to stress here is this was all just about money, getting into the operational aspects of, okay, do we phase it? Where do we start? Do we start at the bottom and work to the top? Do we start at the top and work to the bottom? Those are all where the engineering, comes in. And yesterday, I met with AH Environmental Engineer. They're the ones that did the mapping project.
Oh, right.
And I
right.
learned a lot about that project historically. And they're going to come back to me with about 3 proposals. One proposal on maybe refining that map data and doing a little bit more field inquiry. Basically what they did is, as they explained it to me, was they took all the different plats and plans and memos and Post-it notes, whatever they had, and compiled it into one document. From that, they did the map. They didn't camera the lines. That wasn't paid for. That's a whole nother, situation. The second thing I've asked them to do is, we have a looping issue back over here on the hill. with some pressure, and we're going to try to, they're going to take a look at, we're going to take a look at that for us. And the other thing that they asked them to do was give us some help, well, make a, and these are all proposals, okay? These are not commitments, these are proposals. I've asked them for a proposal on the lead pipe issue. Now, Flint, Michigan, a few years ago, had a horrible situation with their water
Still do.
supply, still do. It literally became an emergency management issue for the whole city. And as sometimes happens, the federal government said, okay, everybody's got to go find their lead pipes and get rid of them. Okay. That wasn't just for the water system, it goes all the way into a person's house. Okay. So we found out there are sources, there are different groups out there that will provide money that if anybody here, anybody has a house built before a certain time, probably has some lead pipe in it, they're willing to replace it from the meter all the way through to the faucet.
Wow.
Okay.
Huh.
But you have to meet the eligibility requirements.
What is the year?
I don't know. I need to pin that
You're
down as to what year they stopped using lead for so there's a lot of pieces here, and I haven't asked, I mean, we're not committed to them. They'd be a good place to start because they did the original mapping, but I've asked for those 3 proposals from them. That's about the biggest back brief I can give you right now. Like I said, we covered a lot of it earlier. Be happy to take any questions though.
Thank you guys for doing that.
I have a
That's very
Yes, sir.
informative. I learned a lot.
Bet.
The criteria has always been an issue.
Mm.
Our per capita income, which is false, but anyways, they say that's what it is. Rates, water rates has
Mhm.
been the other thing that's
Mhm.
kept us from getting things over the years. Low water rates.
And that was mentioned today.
It was.
And it was mentioned, assistant, that there's grants for stuff like rate studies and all of that. I don't know if we needed something like that, but yeah, that was brought up. Water rates are a problem, and the income was an issue. Lead pipes, water pollution of any sort there's a couple of other things.
There were a couple other things that how they score these grants. And we have increased the water rates and closed that gap between Indiana twice since I've been here.
Rate collection.
And the rate collection, again, we've wiped out
Done great.
thousands of dollars of, money that we were
And
owed.
somebody spoke up and said, well, we feel like we have a pretty well-run system, and I feel like that hurts. They said what we were thinking.
Yep.
I feel like that's hurting us. And
Well, our
It
rate
was-
thing came up with the water.
yeah, and I can't remember who it was, but the response was, we actually do look at the success of your system. That does help you as in your request, but I got the feeling it doesn't help as much as if you got a really bad problem, because obviously they're out trying to fix immediate health crises with taxpayer money, and that makes sense.
Well, I guess it's a good thing in a way. You don't have major problems.
So when I to echo when I was meeting with the AH environmental folks, they mentioned Roy Keim had said the exact same thing. He said it's almost like we're being punished for having a good system, so.
Feels wrong.
86 was less.
It was
Okay,
1986, and then 1950s was the last time it was supposed to have been used in housing, but of course it was.
Weird part.
Yes.
you don't have any more questions? Do you want me to move on to the next item?
Yep.
Okay. The next item is under action items. This is a resolution for the appointment to the Planning Commission. The resolution is caused by the need to appoint, we have a vacancy. Susan Caskey has moved out of the town for employment reasons and thus is ineligible to serve on the Planning Commission. Her term was set to expire December 31, 2025. So you'll see this slot come back up early next year. Her resignation has been received. The mayor has sought an appointee, and Mr. William Powers is willing to serve. There's no fiscal impact. The staff recommendation and the council action request are the same: to adopt the resolution appointing Mr. William Powers to the Town of Urbana Planning Commission. Be happy to take any questions you have on this matter, but I would certainly defer to the mayor who
Yeah. and-
recruited the
the
nominee.
Some of you know Bill Powers. I know Alana does. they've been part-time residents since probably 2000, was it 8 or 12?
Yeah,
It's- it-
15 years.
Yeah, so been part-time for quite a while.
Yeah, and Bill worked at the
and
Wooden
Bill's-
Pickle.
Yeah, Bill's been down here pretty much full-time for the last 2 or 3 years. They want to start getting involved in the government and at this point,
That's me.
they are now full-time. They got to about half-time, what, 2 or 3 years ago? Where Bill was down here a lot. That's when he was working at the
Mhm.
Wooden Pickle. And at this point, he and his wife are both retired and living at Cross in Colorado.
Yep.
And here full-time. So from my perspective, it's an able-bodied that's willing to serve
It's great.
and
He's very bright.
he's a
very
bright guy.
Yeah. He's a writer.
And we might be able to lean on him at some point to write grants because he is a professional writer.
Yeah. Well, I'll move to adopt resolution 2025-018, appointing Mr. William Powers to the Town of Urbana Planning Commission for the unexpired portion of a 4-year term expiring December 31st, 2025.
Do I have a second?
I second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. Announcements.
I have a quick announcement. We had our last second Saturday, last weekend. Yes, last weekend. We had over 350 people.
Yes.
Sweet Justice played. Both of our food trucks were well equipped, but sold out. Lots of kids, playing football. Just a great time had by everybody had a great time. Robbie helped for some time.
Thank you.
Being the bouncer.
Being the bouncer and the ID checker. But
I didn't bounce.
and next year we're looking to we'll most likely have 3 food trucks so that it's not so much stress on just the 2 guys. But anyway, thanks everybody for coming. We did put a thank you out to everyone
Thank you for letting.
that
Sweet Justice-
participated
Yeah, good job.
in there. Thank you. Thank you.
you
So
did.
we look forward to seeing everybody again, starting in May,
Yeah.
our 5th year.
All right, and I have one announcement. At the MPBDC meeting last night, they announced that the grant application for the engineering study for the bridge down at the marina has been submitted. And we should hear in a couple of weeks as to whether we're getting
I double checked on that today. They said December.
December. Okay,
December, yeah,
Oh,
more like a
Alright.
couple of months.
oh,
all right.
okay.
But
Well,
we've
that's
been
okay.
told before that we'd hear something
Yes,
and we've heard about it earlier, but
okay.
Oh.
All right,
I haven't
So-
been writing.
so that's in. Anybody else? Having no more announcements, we'll move to close meeting. Thank you all for coming.
Thanks, everyone.
Have a great evening. And a better tomorrow.
Good to see you, Tammy. You have
Good
been, you've been hiding from
He's
us.
been traveling.
Oh,
Good to
yeah.
see you, Mariah.
Hi, Mariah. Thank you.
Hi.
Thank-
Oh,
Just keep coming back.
Everybody's like, go get a drink.
Hey, Mariah, are your banana trees, are they,
Chair. Okay. You get-
yeah, okay, so they are the ones that will come back. Yeah. Yeah, they should. Yeah.
Sorry, I had to say that. Their mouths were turning yellow.
Yes.
Well,
Well, sometimes you don't have to cover them either, but thank you.
Well, you can do breakfast one.
I come by and look at all your pretty stuff.
I'll come at 5 o'clock.
Get it before 30, so.
Okay, all right. Let's
We'll
do
figure
breakfast.
that out.
All right, okay.
I can go to breakfast too, you know.
Come on, I'll take.
We all should be included.
We all can go to breakfast. Oh, no.
Salt fish.
No.
See you.
Ugh.
Behave yourself.
My friend in California can't get it.
States away to misbehave.
I get it.
Counties are not gonna
market,
give us
freeze
money
it,
unless
Put
you
it in a
make 'em.
bag.
yeah,
carry it.
no,
You
there's
know-
nothing voluntary about it.
She
How
can have
loud
it.
is mine?
I can't even stand it.
I think loud, that's
Some money.
things that you love or you hate.
Right.
You
When I-
like
yeah.
it, you'll-
Yeah.
They
Yeah.
don't give it to
When
you.
I
Yeah.
was, when I
Yeah.
was a kid, I
Yeah.
liked that stuff called, have you ever seen it called olive loaf?
What the urban areas have.
It almost looked like bologna, but it had, when they.
Oh,
it had
yeah.
Olives, and when they slice, it, you could see the olives and the pimentos in
yeah.
there.
I didn't like that.
I like that. I don't know why. And pimento cheese.
I like pimento cheese.
They have a good one at Food Lion in the section where all the
Yep.
You know,
Yeah,
right before you
that's
get to
right.
deli, there's that section.
That's
that has
exactly
their
right.
soup
Yeah.
and stuff in it. Around the corner, they have a real good pimento cheese there.
What is it?
To be able
Can't remember.
Is it bird? Birdies?
Assess it, like you.
It might be.
Mhm.
You
That's eating up, it's killing your
Yes,
space.
of course.
Yeah.
You know how the
Yeah.
public,
Good. And then we got.
Good.
you know how
We
the
know you
public
did.
interprets
No.
the language you put in for solar, which I think is good.
That's
That's just a bribe.
what's happened to us.
That's what they
I
call it.
have a new.
They're just
person
bribing
tells
the
me-
board
Oh,
members.
good.
I know,
Well, it's not a new medicine.
I
My
know, but that's what
potassium
they
was
say.
low from the immunotherapy that I do.
I'm telling you,
So.
You're,
Even
I'm sure, I'm sure.
everything in a negative
We have
light.
potassium levels.
yeah,
are right.
potassium.
I know. Yeah, it's just,
Okay,
No,
Thank you, Keith.
okay, see you later.
Good to see you. Thank you.
Take care.
Feel 30%.
You have a
Yeah.
box on, you have a box on
Look
your front
later.
porch. It's been there for about 3 weeks.
Teeth
Yeah.
are floating.
It ain't been there 3 weeks, but it's been there a
yeah,
while.
let's go. Let's
I
go.
don't know what.
let's
the-
get this
Let's go.
over
it's
with.
The one that.
Get
they-
it started.
Circle Park.
Been a long day
Has
already.
been.
It's already been a 12-hour.
See, a couple months ago, you were.
Look, my doormat says, please hide packages from husband.
Please what?
Please hide packages from husband.
And I'm gonna have to.
Yeah.
record
Yeah,
that.
perfect.
We gotta take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye now.
Thank you.
Pay some bills.
Do we, yeah, we need.
Yeah, we did
motion.
need to do motion. I move that the town of Urbana Town Council convene and close meeting in accordance with section 2.2-3711A3 of the Code of Virginia to discuss or consider the acquisition of real property for the public purpose of the location of town hall, because discussion in an open meeting would adversely affect the bargaining position or negotiating strategy of the council.
Second.
Any discussion?
Just need to be quiet because you can actually hear, if there's somebody sitting on the sidewalk, they can actually hear what we're saying.
Oh,
All right, is this just a voice vote or we gotta go?
individual.
All in favor?
No, individual.
Individual.
Oh, you said individual.
Roll call.
Okay, Robbie Wilson,
Yes.
that's Justin.
Yes.
Mary Hanson.
Yes.
I say yes. Alana Courtney.
Yes.
Larry Tuning.
Yes.
Marjorie Austin.
Yes.
Let me give you all the. All right,
Okay, here we go.
motion to come out.
Okay, I move to reconvene an open session and certify that only the matter identified in the motion to go into closed setting was heard, discussed, or considered in accordance with section 2.2-3712D of the Code of Virginia, 1950.
Second.
And if each of you would individually
Yeah.
certify.
Robbie
I so
Wilson,
certify.
So certified.
I so certify.
I so certify.
so certified.
I so certified.
So certify.
All right,
Is there a motion to authorize the mayor to finalize a purchase agreement for a new town hall and to authorize him to execute the agreement?
Yabba dabba do, I do. Yes, that's so moved.
do we have a second?
Second.
Is that voice vote or individual?
Individual.
Mr. Wilson.
Yes.
Beth Justin.
Yes.
Mary Hanson.
Yes.
I say yes. Alana Courtney.
Yes.
Larry Tuning.
Yes.
Marjorie Austin.
Yes.
Okay,
Motion
Do-
to adjourn.
do I
think
want to
we
read this on the record?
He
or-
reads that onto the record.
All right, for the record. As you know, the council has been seeking to buy a building to serve as a new town hall. We had hoped to buy this building, but unfortunately that is not to be. In the best interest of the town, we have identified another option that we think will save the town money and meet the needs of the citizens and staff. Council would like to move forward with this option and perform due diligence. Closing will occur before the end of the year and hopefully the town operations move will occur early next year.
Thank you.
Now, when do you
Second.
expect to hear from him?
No, you don't, we don't, no. Okay.
Early.
motion to adjourn.
No, we're still in open session.
We're still in, yeah. we're in-
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second?
Okay.
All right,
ahead.
I don't.
in
Second.
favor? Aye,
Aye.
all right.
Yes.
Good job, folks.
Good meeting.
No.